You're listening to Graphic Novel Explorers Club podcast, an audio book club.
Thanks for checking out today's episode of Graphic Novel Explorers Club. I'm one of your hosts, Dennis Supachana, joined by...
The beautiful and talented Frances.
And...
The ugly and untalented Johnny.
All untrue. Oh, burn.
The reverse is true.
Today we are discussing Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan. We hope you've already read today's title because all three of us have read the book, so beware, spoilers ahead. We would love for you to share your opinion and thoughts with us. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at GN Explorers Club, leave a comment on Facebook, or email us, gnexplorersclub@gmail.com. Graphic Novel Explorers Club is available on iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever podcasts are available. Today's
Nice
comic is
You owe me a Coke.
Paper Girls Volume 1. That was written by Brian K. Vaughan, illustrated by Cliff Chiang. The series is still ongoing, but it was started in 2015, and this particular volume covers issues 1 through 5. And does this explain what it is? Basically, it's set in 1988, so there's a lot of throwbacks to the 80s. This actually came out around the same time as, I think, Ready Player One.
I was going to ask you, or if either one of you knew this, if this came out first or if Stranger Things came out first. And this one did.
I was going to... Oh, this one came out
Because
first?
this came out in 2015.
Oh, okay. I wondered the same thing.
They were kind of hitting around the same time. I think there was a big nostalgia wave. So
Well, because the 80s were awesome.
That's true, they were. Anyway, so the story starts off... Well, Brian K. Vaughan, I should note, is famous for Marvel's Runaways, which is also a TV series right now. Saga and Why the Last Man. So some pretty good
Things I never
lineage.
heard of.
We haven't read any of those? Oh, we haven't.
No, No, I don't think this is... I was going to say, I think this is our first Brian K. Vaughan book.
Oh, wow. And no spoilers... but I was happy to report there was no sexual assault in this.
There wasn't.
Graphic novel. If you've been following our other episodes, we've been reading a lot of heavy stuff, and
A lot of salty books.
Yeah, and I was really happy that there wasn't any child rape or any kind of rapey stuff going on.
There's some child violence.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
not,
exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, the story starts off 1988. It hooked me in right away because it starts off in what's like pretty wild. Dream sequence where the main character Erin is dreaming of what is her name? It's the astronaut who
Christy
Nugget.
McAuliffe,
yes,
something like that.
Christy
McNugget.
Nugget.
Wow, what a history teacher. Anyway, is talking to her. Way to go. Through some dream.
Yeah, Christy's got her NASA helmet on,
right.
and like these angel wings. It was like. When I saw that, I was like, that would make a fucking awesome poster.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like a band poster.
The dream sequence really hooked me in, and I guess Satan's there. She thinks she's in heaven, but Satan's got her little sister, and she has to answer some stupid, like, school quiz or something like that.
Like, where is his tribe from?
Yeah, exactly.
There's like 4 very similar options.
Yeah.
Anyway, she wakes up from the dream, but I was hooked immediately.
Well, he kills the sister.
He does kill
and
the
she
sister.
says, I know no matter what I answer, it always ends the same.
Oh, so she's had the dream before.
Yeah.
Right. And then so...
I thought the dream was terrible, but
Really?
I'm not surprised that it hooked you too.
Well, visually,
I didn't
liked
say it hooked me right away.
okay.
I liked the visual of the 80s, that blue, light, powdery blue jumpsuit
NASA,
that the
yeah.
NASA astronauts used to wear with the angel wings and the helmet. That's what I liked.
Well, I liked it when she cursed in the dream, and that's when the angel got fiery wings. I was like, uh-oh, we got Preacher coming on.
Yeah.
Preacher flashbacks.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Is an angel and demon, are they about to bang?
Exactly. No more. But anyway, after that, she wakes up. The calendar shows that it's November 1st. Hell's Morning, because it's the day after Halloween.
Oh, I didn't see that. That
Yeah.
makes more sense.
Is that what they call November 1st is Hell's Morning?
Well, that's what she wrote.
Oh.
And they actually have a couple other names for it that they mention in the book, but I forgot them. And it's like 4:40 a.m. You're not sure why she's waking up. It becomes pretty clear that she actually has a paper route. And she goes on her paper route, and she runs into some teenagers who are still out for Halloween celebrations. I think one's dressed like Freddy Krueger or something like that.
Yeah, 3 boys.
Right. And so they kind of harass her, and they make slightly suggestive comments. And once again, I'm like, uh-oh. But
yeah, well, it's implied that they're gonna. Are you taking a photo of me?
Yes, I am.
I got the impression that they were about to like
do something.
Yeah, sexually assault.
Well,
her.
one of them's like, "Hey, she's 8."
Yeah,
and then
keep talking.
and then she says, "No, I'm 12." And then pretty soon, she's defended by apparently these other 3 girls who come rolling in bikes as well. And Mack, we're introducing Mack, who's your stereotypical kind of Peppermint Patty type character, kind of tomboyish, but she has a foul mouth.
And she's homophobic.
It's the 80s. And actually, it's addressed in there. Like,
yeah,
you shouldn't use the
know.
F word, but I think she says something like, your mom has AIDS or something
yeah,
like that.
she makes some Sam Kinison-esque jokes about having AIDS, and she calls one of the boys a faggot.
Right, exactly. But it's clear she was just trying to intimidate them. And the other girls, so that's introducing MacKenzie. Then the other girls introduce themselves. KJ, I think, is Jewish, and then Tiffany.
Because she's circumcised.
Right. Anyway, it turns out that Mack was the first paper boy who wasn't a boy and started the trend.
Yeah, she was breaking that paper ceiling.
Right, exactly. That paper boy glass ceiling.
See, I thought when Paper Girls, I thought this was going to have to do something with like fragile women or like fashion or
like paper dolls.
That's like paper dolls. I didn't take it as so literal as Paper Girls.
Right, and then that's actually the great thing I liked about this book, I should say, is that I went in pretty much not knowing at all the genre or what was going on. I heard, I got the book mainly because I read some article that said, if you like Stranger Things, pick up these books, and this is one of them listed. So I didn't really have too many preconceived notions of what was going in the book. So that actually was pretty refreshing. So anyway, Mack, KJ, and Tiffany come defend Erin, and they decide, I guess they made it like an annual tradition, at least the 3 girls, to work together on Hell's Morning because there's still some freaks out from Halloween before.
See, I thought that they just went out together just because they could knock out more houses. And
that was the other advantage.
I mean, there was safety too, but but then it was just knocking out
that was the other thing.
Route quicker.
Exactly. So they decide to split up, which is always a good idea in a horror movie.
Well, they split up in groups of 2.
Right,
yeah.
and then they split a walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
Which once again is another shout out to the 80s where they name drop Realistic, right? Which is the Radio Shack brand, which I actually own one of those walkie-talkies too.
Every kid had a Realistic something or other. And Erin, the main character or whatever, she seems sort of demure compared to MacKenzie. MacKenzie's very
she's really,
or Mack is very like up in your face, doesn't take any shit,
smokes.
Or guff, smokes cigarettes, and Erin's a little bit more conservative and
just normal. Really.
There you go.
Yeah, and at this point the story seems pretty tame. Nothing's really happening, but you start getting some hints as they're biking and they split up. You see what looks like, I don't know, 3 ninjas.
Or just people clad in like gray cloth.
Right, which it's still Halloween morning or day after, so you figure it's nothing really weird. Although you see a bit of their eye and you're thinking, okay, what's going on? It's a little weird.
Yeah, their eye has it doesn't have a round pupil. It's got a 3-point star pupil.
Right, exactly. And then the police stop Mack and Erin, who are who are a duo, to question Mack if she knows anything about some recent break-ins. And then you get a little bit of a hint that there's a troubled past. A lot of this is kind of stereotypical 80s stuff, but I'm buying into it. I don't know how you feel about it at this point, but I'm kind of buying into this.
I liked it. It's a small town in Ohio?
Right.
Or because
I think it was Stony Stream, Ohio.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so you get the kind of they're she's the from the bad family.
Right, exactly. Then, as they're delivering newspapers, it cuts to Tiffany and KJ, who squawk over the walkie-talkie saying that like they're in trouble. So Erin and Mack come to him, and it turns out 3 guys in bad ghost outfits, quote unquote, had jumped them and had stolen Tiffany's other walkie-talkie. And she had saved up, I think these were like $50, so she saved up a lot of her route money in order to get these. So they're really upset at this point. And I'm pretty sure the reader is led to believe that those 3 ninjas or ghosts or whatever are the ones that jumped her. So anyway, the girls resolve to basically track down the robbers, and they go into a new housing development. I don't know exactly how they were able to Scooby-Doo their way down to the basement. But
Well, it looked like the window was open.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it was direct hints.
Yeah.
Good point. And then they find underneath this cloth a weird-looking capsule device. It's like
It reminded me of the transport device in The Fly, the
totally
Cronenberg remake, but with like fleshy human.
Right. It was kind of alien, like
Geiger.
aliens. Yeah,
Geiger meets Cronenberg.
Yeah, at this point of the story, I remembered this E.T. knockoff that I loved in the 80s. I think it was called Mack and
Mack
Me.
and Me.
Oh, Mack and Me is famous.
And the girl in the comic book is named Mack. So then I was like, I mean, Mack and Me Mack was like a ripoff alien like E.T., but he was not from a violent family the way Mack is in this book. But I wondered, I was like, is that?
It could be. Conan O'Brien
homage.
famously uses that. There was a bit where, I forgot what star comes on, and he always promises to show a clip from his movie, and he shows a clip from Mack and Me where this...
the runaway kid on
the wheelchair.
the wheelchair.
And he falls off a cliff. So anyway, the girls like start hypothesizing what the heck's going on. Like it looks like an Apollo capsule, so they think maybe it's something from NASA. Some of them think it's from Russia, which makes sense at this time period. Everyone's Soviet phobia crazy. Some think it's an actual alien. And then one of the girls, and this is kind of a cool part for me, is thinks it might be, because it's like I think 50th anniversary of War of the Worlds. And one of the girls, I think Erin, says, what, the new TV show? And it's funny because I never thought anyone ever watched the War of the Worlds syndicated TV show.
They didn't.
But it was amazing. And
I don't remember that show.
Oh, yeah. It had the... It had one of the dudes from Predator, which is why I watched it. And then it was crazy. But anyway, she names drops that. And as they're kind of arguing what this device could be, suddenly it starts humming to life and then goes off and there's a flash. And they freak out. They leave the house. And they see basically the skies kind of changed. Really weird. It's like purple.
It's like a purpley pink, and it's the same colors as the cover art and the chapter art.
Which I should say, I'm sure we'll address it later, but I really liked the use of colors.
Yeah, I did too. A lot.
I don't think it was any kind of, in particular, any kind of emotional.
No, but I think they owe some money to Body Glove, because I feel like they stole all the Body Glove color schemes.
That's true.
I felt this was very much the colors, because I did like them too, but I felt very much Jim and the Holograms when I saw the night sky. I was like, oh my God, that's like when she does the synergy thing.
Truly outrageous.
Yeah, truly.
So anyway, they catch up with the robbers. I guess the robbers had bailed as well. And they get in a fight. One of them gets hit in the face, and Mack decides to attack the robber, removes his mask, and then you realize they're not regular people. They kind of have this weird, like, mutant...
They look like they've been burned, or they've got... Yeah, like they have...
They look like inbreds.
Yeah.
Right. Or like... Remember Captain Pike from Star Trek?
Yeah.
You guys are dropping so many nerd references
Yo,
tonight.
Yeah.
This is the Graphic Novel Explorers Club.
Yeah.
With this. Like... They've got like circuitry in their flesh, and they're all lumpy and
then here's where it starts getting even weirder. So he drops a device, and then Erin picks it up, and she says, "Well, actually, it looks like I think it's like fruit or something like that." And it's clear that it's the Apple logo.
Yeah,
and it looks like, I don't know, an iPod. So this is 1988.
Oh yeah, and that's right. And she said it's an Apple.
Right. And later on...
they didn't say that at first. They thought it was something really foreign.
Right, exactly. And then she says it looks like the logo that's on our computers, which at this time would be the Apple IIes with the green screen and everything like that.
And the rainbow color scheme on the...
Right, totally. So,
it wasn't that Apple more like an Apple? Like it had like the color bars?
Yeah, it had the rainbow color.
But it had the bite still. out of it.
Oh, okay.
So now you're starting to think, okay, what's going on here? Clearly that's not appropriate time period stuff. And they've been pretty good about name dropping appropriate references for the time period. So anyway, one of the ninjas, he's still running off.
I don't think ninjas an appropriate. They're like Jedis almost. Like they're just like in robes,
mummies.
Mummy Jedis. Like
the mummy Jedi is running off, and all of a sudden you hear this other humming, and then you see like a leg, which looks like, I don't know, some kind of reptile, and then some blood. Looks like he's dead, and his bag's been dropped that he was carrying, and in his bag is a variety of different communication devices, including the walkie-talkie, I think. Some cell phones that look definitely late 90s, where they're the candy bar style, and some cell phones that are flip phones, because I was looking through it.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice that either.
So he clearly has like late 90s to early 2000 technology as well. So you're like, okay, something's definitely up with what's going on. So they decide to go back to Erin's home altogether. No one's there.
No, I thought they went back to Mack's home.
They go to Mack's home
sorry,
afterwards.
you're right. Okay, I apologize. Yep.
That's whatever. Woman-splain it to me.
Yeah. Well, so
this is the day after Woman's Day that we're recording
that's true.
this. So.
And this is the funny part. I didn't bother to remember any of these girls' names. It's just 4 girls. I really didn't. I'm like, okay, like there's 4 girls. I can just tell by their face.
And I can tell by your face, you actually said 4 broads in your head.
In my head, I did. I was like, these 4 broads, these 4 chicks.
My grandpa Roy, sorry to get on a sidetrack, he would always call women broads.
Oh, really?
And then if some woman did something bad to him, like, that dumb broad. Like,
I was thinking the other day, going off another tangent, I was listening to Frank Sinatra, and there's a song, "The Lady's a Tramp." Now, does tramp mean the same thing back then?
Yeah, that's slut. That's slut shaming.
Oh, but they had the movie Lady
and the Tramp. He's the tramp.
I'm sure there's another version, an adult version of Lady is a Tramp. I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Anyway, they go back to Erin's house. No parents are around. They try to call the police, like good kids should. And there's no dial tone. There's just the emergency broadcast kind of whining sound.
So you get the impression they've like shifted into another universe or something. And I know you're about to get to like what.
No, go ahead.
Things. I never got a clear indication from this book of where they're at. Is it on another plane of existence?
Right.
Did they time travel to the future? Is it a different reality that they're in? And it never was really, even when you get to the end of it, I'm just like, okay, well, where the fuck are they?
Yeah. So there is this movie, I forget the name, in the 80s as well.
Is it the Australian movie?
No.
Okay.
But it was a series. I think they ended up making more, but it was basically the biblical story where like people who got called back to heaven, people just literally started vanishing.
Right.
Like the rapture happened?
Yeah, and the people who were left behind had to figure out why they didn't get to heaven and so I started thinking it was kind of like that, because in the story, like in the dream sequence, there was the devil.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, oh, is this? And it's right after Halloween, so right before All Souls Day.
Right.
So I was like, oh, maybe this is like they've gotten to heaven. Later on, as Dennis will explain, that's not true. It becomes apparent, but
there's definitely hints of, there's a recent show on HBO, The Leftovers, which deals with that. The famous movies, Left Behind.
There was a movie in the 80s too, though, that I remember my mom renting, where this guy, and I believe it's an Australian film, where this guy wakes up one day. He's just like a regular dude. He wakes up one day and like all of humanity has disappeared. And then he winds up finding this white woman. And then I don't remember if he was an Aborigine or black. He winds up finding this couple. And then some violence happens. And then I don't remember. This is 30,
right.
This is like 30 years ago. So I don't remember the details. And then at the end of the movie, they figure out, oh, we're in the wrong, like, reality. It's shifted, and we can get back by going to like a satellite, like a observation building, and so he goes through and he wakes up on some weird fucking planet with like 3 moons, and he can see the sun in the distance, and then that's where the movie ends.
Oh, cliffhanger.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. I don't even know if it was a cliffhanger. It was just like a weird he wakes up in a different
Right.
reality. And so I'm just curious if that's what this book reminded
we should
me
look up
of.
that title because I'm interested now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying, Johnny, too. It's not super clear what the mystery is. Although I will say, unlike some other books that we've read, Luther Strode, I feel like...
What's that guy's name? Matt Moore? What's the
I don't
author's
know.
name?
I
Creator
forget.
of it? That
We
poor
dig on
guy.
him every single episode.
We owe him the biggest fucking apology. Just
He
We're
owes
reading-
us an apology for making us read that.
we're continuing to read the book,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we're doing him a
and I have
Yeah.
purchased all 3 of those
Yeah,
books.
so
and I
we're-
have borrowed all 3 of them.
Yeah, so we're gonna do all the books. So, you're welcome.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's address that. So we don't know what's going on. Obviously, there are visual hints that there's some kind of time travel. They've kind of hinted at some other stuff. The girls have theories.
Well, and they seem to be more exposed to the cosmos too,
Right.
than we can see, in the sky.
And having watched Stranger Things and all those, you're like, okay, is this the upside down world of theirs? Who knows what's going on? But I felt engaged. At this point, it wasn't frustrating me. I felt I was shown just enough
To
and even
keep
to
you
the-
intrigued.
Right, exactly. So I kind of got that Lost vibe where it's like, what's down that hatch?
And Brian K. Vaughan did work on Lost.
Oh, there you
He
go.
was one of the writers on
The
Lost.
mystery box.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, they kind of freak out as to what's going on. So they decide, well, let's go to Mack's place, as Francis decided to wrongly say happened first.
What?
And because they want to get a gun. They know Mack knows that her dad has a gun. They're not sure what's happening. They don't know if the adults were evacuated and maybe assume that
The kids got airlifted out.
yeah, or the
something.
military picked them up, whatever. So they go to Mack's house, and strangely enough, her stepmom, is there.
Well, and there's a vast difference in the homes because Erin's home is like an upscale middle class home, and you go to Mack's house, and it's like a little 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, little shitty place with like
Right.
that crappy thin boarding that goes up. It's just like puts up in a sheet, and it's always that kind of dark brown color.
Totally.
It's just a gross.
Definitely like a trailer home. kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it's just kind of a gross, home.
And then, so,
And I think I don't know if you already said this. They're all in private school.
right.
Yeah.
Good point.
In the beginning, they mentioned
Oh,
like
I didn't catch
yeah,
that.
like
Yeah, they did.
they're like, oh, do you go to this school? And she's like, no, I go to this school. So I think there is some delineation also between the private schools that they attend.
Mm-hmm.
Does Mack go to that school too, or is she?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
really?
I think so. I believe they're all.
I
private
believe so.
school
Maybe she's on
kids,
scholarship.
Yeah.
but I could be wrong.
And so I was expecting something weird to happen at this point where the stepmom comes in. Like she's not behaving like she's supposed to in the quote unquote real world. But no, she's a drunk just like she is, I guess, in Mack's normal world. And she talks about how, Mack asks where her dad is. And this is where the whole Left Behind Rapture thing starts coming in, where the mom starts talking. I think she starts.
Stepmom. It's her stepmom.
Starts talking about the Bible and.
Yeah, she's
well-
like, don't you know, like we're the left behind?
Right,
And
exactly.
If I knew that biblical story
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the dad just evaporated. In
Right,
front of
he
her.
disappeared.
in front of her, like when she was there, then he wasn't.
Right, and then she has the gun and then tries to basically commit suicide. And I don't know what would happen if you were in the Rapture and then you commit suicide. 'Cause
Right?
Erin-
Yeah. Where do you go? Because you didn't go to heaven.
He didn't rapture.
Yeah,
Right.
I always wondered that too.
Maybe.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
Well, don't,
All right,
don't
guys.
kids, don't do that at home. That was really
That
inappropriate.
was a bad
of me.
joke. Sorry.
Yeah.
And if you're a child, why are you listening to this show that's geared towards adults?
Yeah, and if you're a parent, don't let your kids listen to us. So anyway, Mack tries to wrestle the gun away, and of course, in true dramatic fashion, the gun goes off, and Erin is hit in the gut accidentally.
And I thought that this panel that was drawn was like really done well. I know we normally save the art for the end, but I was like, oh wow. And then Max says, "Sorry, I'm taking over."
Well, Erin
No,
doesn't
you
even
should.
seem injured at first.
Yeah.
She's saying,
Right.
And
I
Max
think everybody's
says-
okay. I
Yeah,
think
Max is like, yeah, everyone's good. I was able to like move it in time, and then they notice she's bleeding, and then I was like, this is where like the after school special story comes in, like why you shouldn't play with a gun or why you shouldn't have a gun in the house,
especially during the rapture.
right? Yeah, but I was like, oh man, so
Yeah. So what happens to the stepmom? I forget now.
She lives.
She disappears. You don't know. The doors open,
Right,
and
she's
you
just
don't know
gone.
if she
Bolted.
ran or if she got raptured.
Oh, okay. But I mean, she didn't get shot.
No,
The
she
little
was
girl
not
did.
shot. Yeah, Erin got shot in the stomach.
Right. And then now at this point in the story, this is when things start getting kind of batshit crazy.
Yeah, they get off the rails.
Right. So it pauses from the action and cuts to a football field with a couple teenagers. They're clearly still in Halloween costumes. So what? Then one of those weird, like dinosaur-like creatures, suddenly.
Well, we skipped that part.
Oh, we did.
Where so this guy in white, or is that? Did we skip
It's coming
this?
up. No.
Okay.
So they decide, this is what happens, if I remember correctly. They decide to take Erin to the hospital, and one of the girls says, like, my dad let me steer. So they take like the keys to the car and start driving to the hospital, and that's when
You see this pterodactyl, like.
yeah, and there's these people talking like, oh, you can't really make out what they're saying, but you can kind of make out what they're saying. These people in white, they're kind of saying like, oh,
They talk almost like Jodie Foster in Nell.
Right. When she's kind of learning.
Jacobite in the tray.
Right. So we did skip a part. It was between Erin's house and Mack's house. That's where they're riding their bikes to Mack's house. And that's where they run into one of the kids who's in a Wolfman costume.
Yeah.
That's
He's,
right.
he's looking at
okay.
the sky, and they look up, and suddenly there's like a bunch of pterodactyl kind of like creatures in the sky.
I kept expecting. I was like, oh, some sort of like trans morphification happened, and like he was wearing a Wolfman costume because it looks very real.
Right. I thought he was going to be.
And and he's just like staring at him, and they are trying to get him to talk, and when they turn around to talk amongst each other, he's gone when they're back around. So with the thing that you can't talk, like the three characters dressed in gray speak in these like glyphs.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dennis sent me the PDF of this book, and on the title page for each chapter, it's the first one's in red, the second one's in blue, third one's in yellow, and the fourth one's in light blue. You can actually copy. I was able to, scroll over it and copy that font, and then I put it into Google, and it actually translates into English.
Such a nerd. Sorry. Sorry about
What,
that.
did you do this
edit,
too?
You can edit that
No,
out.
that's totally fine.
Dork.
No, because I did it on accident. I was like, "What? Oh, it's letting me copy it."
Accident, quote,
Yeah.
unquote.
Right.
And how dare you guys? I want to hear about nerd shit from you, Dennis.
Okay.
So
Valid point.
The first one, the red page, it translates to "nostalgia is death," which is a Bob Dylan quote from an LA Times interview in the 80s. And then the second one, the blue page, is "Death is Forever," which is a James Bond book.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one, the yellow one, is "Forever is Now," which is a Emily Dickinson poem called "Forever is Composed of Nows." And then the last one, the fourth one, the light blue, is "Now is Gone," which I couldn't really find anything on, but it directed me to a lot of net neutrality quotes for some reason. And then I found this other website where people had actually taken all those glyphs and actually created the alphabet for what it translates. And they translated
Did you get any
it.
sleep last night?
I was hit by a car on my
Oh, that's
motorcycle,
right, sorry.
and so I
I
had a
was
lot
like,
of time yesterday.
So anyway, I don't want to get into this, but how much meth were you on?
A lot. It wasn't meth, it was speed. I was on speed. I cleaned my house, and then I had a lot of time left over. But these folks actually like translated a bunch of the pages of the three
pretty awesome.
characters. Yeah. So that's my contribution to this.
That's
podcast.
actually really good because we should address once again the nostalgia factor at the end.
Yeah.
But so they see the dinosaurs. They go to Mack's house. The shooting happens. Then it cuts to another batshit crazy scene where some kids are in a football field. This dude, basically riding one of the dinosaurs, comes down. He's dressed like a knight.
In white.
Yeah, he's like a knight almost kind of thing. He has a staff. He basically vaporizes them. And you're like, well, what the hell's going on?
He didn't vaporize the kids.
Yeah,
did he?
the teenagers,
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, that's right. He has a staff that shoots out like pink rays.
Right.
As every staff should.
Well, all step technology that emits rays, typically it is pink.
Right. And then cuts back to the girls. Tiffany's driving. They're driving to, I think, the hospital because Tiffany's mom's a doctor. That Knight, who had vaporized the teenagers, stops them.
Well, hold on. There's a fun. I really like this quote in there because one of the girls asks, "Oh, your mom's a nurse," and she's like, "No, she's a doctor." Like it was
I love
very.
that too.
Yeah, I really like that.
My wife would be really offended by that. So they get out of the car. They still have the gun. He doesn't seem to be threatening them.
But they didn't know they had the gun. There was a big debate before they
Right.
left the house whether or not to take the gun,
Yeah.
and the girls didn't. And the one who was shot was like, "I think I have a say. No gun."
Yeah.
Right.
But unbeknownst to them, Mack brought it anyway.
Exactly. And it doesn't seem like he's really threatening him, though.
No, he's like trying to say
weird.
like, "I can help you," or
Kind of in his Jacobite
because
speak.
they're saying like because Mack's bleeding. They're like, "We need help. Like, let us go through." And he's like, "I can help her." Like,
Well, he says, I could do but they but help her.
No, that's exactly. It seemed like weird, like
Nell speak.
yeah, exactly. And he calls them locals.
It's like pirate future speak.
your transgresses.
Yeah, it's really hard to understand. But once again, I'm not frustrated.
You can
But
make
then-
the gist of what they're trying
But
to
then
say.
he hit something. That's what it is. He hit something on his throat, and then you can hear what he's saying.
Right, he has like a universal
Yeah.
translator, which is like this red
That's what
disc.
it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was
And
like,
then-
no, I remember what he said.
Hold on to it, Francis.
And he's dressed like the all the good guys from Mad Max 2.
Oh, right.
The Road Warrior.
Yeah, totally. And then all of a sudden, as he's about to do something, shots ring out, and you're like, "Oh crap! Did they just
Right.
gun him down?"
Yeah, he gets blasted 3 times in the head.
And then everyone's turning to Mack, like, "Why did you shoot him?" And she says, "I didn't shoot him." And it turns out those teenagers, or not teenagers, those mummies,
Those ninja Jedi.
Ninja
as
Jedi.
Johnny
Mummy
likes to
Jedi.
say.
Right.
Mummy Jedi.
ended up shooting him, and they're I think their masks are off at this point. You can see that, just like Johnny described before, they're scarred. They got some electrodes going out of them, and they pick up the universal translator, and they say, "We're teenagers," which
Just
is-
like you.
yeah, exactly.
And they said the old timers would have hurt you.
Right. So now we're getting a little bit more of lore. So it seems like, okay, young versus old, maybe something like that.
Something, yeah, to that effect.
And then it cuts to like a weird scene. I wasn't sure what's going on here. It's starting to go off the rails. I'm actually still on board. I say off the rails only because the story is starting to get more fantastical. Go ahead, Francis.
Oh, it wasn't off the rails to me, this scene. It made sense to me.
Oh, really?
Because it's basically like so one of the other like old timers, a woman dressed in white, like calls. It's this guy. He answers. He looks like just a regular old man with like some random rock
He's got like
t-shirt
a
on.
god beard. He's got like this
Yeah,
big
it
white
looks
kinda
beard.
God. It was like
Aboriginal.
God. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was like saying like she's like asking for his advice, and he was like, no, like I'll punish them or something. No, that wasn't yet.
That was
She-
later.
yeah, but he was like, hey, she's like basically like, we've got these kids
But
like running
the
around.
phone he picks up is like an old phone from like 1910 with an eyeball in the middle. And as he picks the phone up, the eyeball opens up. So I'm just curious.
Eye of God.
Yeah. Is it the eye of God? Is it the all-seeing eye like in the Hindu religion? You know, like the third eye?
But yeah, he's also not dressed like some mystical ninja Jedi.
Yeah, he's got
Just
like,
like a stoner grandpa.
Well,
Yeah,
he's
he's
wearing
got,
like a
like,
Public
90s
Enemy. He's
yeah.
wearing like a Public Enemy shirt, and it's weird. And he's like just in a normal modern bedroom. So you're like, what's going on? So he basically says for them to call for the Editrix. I don't know how you pronounce it. So we don't know what the heck is going on. She says, "Are you sure?" And he says, "Yeah, call for the Editrix." Anyway, the now teenagers, the mutant ninja turtle teenagers, they take him to the sewers.
Mutant
Also,
teenagers.
They do take him to the sewers. So
They do. That's right. They
yeah.
do go to the sewer because they said like, "Oh, we can help her. Like, we can help your friend."
Right, exactly, and
Because they take the dead guy's translator.
right, so they can speak, and they kind of explain that they're from the year 13. So this is after the calamity or something happened.
So yeah, something happens in the future.
And so they're not exactly. I actually like this part because they said, "So you're time travelers," and they said, "Well, not exactly. We're kind of like astronauts," because it's true. If you went forward in time, the Earth is still rotating, so you wouldn't necessarily end up in the exact same place. Which
Yeah,
is
the
something
Earth would have moved on.
right. So that's
That's a critique about Back to the Future when super nerds argue that
Geek.
The DeLorean would never end up in the same place because the Earth would have.
Unless, like, he compensated for that somehow. But yeah, I never.
Doc Brown would.
Yeah, exactly, totally. But that's something I never even thought about. That basically you could end up in space or in a different country.
They say in the thing they say Earth moves through time. It's not. I mean, literally and figuratively, it is moving through time.
So anyway, they realize that the universal translator they're using is also like a basically
tracking device.
So they smash it, but it's too late. The Editrix finds them, which is like this glowing green.
It reminded me of the eyeball monster from
D&D.
No, from Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh yeah,
only in the future because it's like an orb with TVs or
weird... for eyeballs.
Yeah,
no, it's totally that, and the D&D. I think what are they called? Anyway,
yeah, I'm a nerd.
Yeah. Hey, shut up. I like how Frances is just sitting quietly. Why did I hang out?
I can't even get into this conversation.
She's the least nerdy of all the three of us. She actually has had sexual relations
with other people.
With a lot of people.
A lot.
Hey.
I mean,
like a long list. There's an Excel sheet.
Varied and long, gross list of people. Whereas
they weren't all gross.
We're still hoping someday to get lucky.
One day.
Someday. I'll talk to a girl someday.
I'll roll a critical success on my dice.
Get that charisma level up, and you'll meet a girl.
I'll roll a 20. Sadly, this isn't an episode where we've been drinking.
I know.
Actually, we have. Those things have a little bit of booze in
it does?
them.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
I told you that. I said they're hard.
I thought it was just water. Flavored water.
I said it's hard seltzer water.
Oh, shit.
I said that.
Okay, he did not say that. I've been
roofied.
Did too. I want that on record. Anyway, so the thing basically attacks the kids, grabs Tiffany by the neck. I don't know what the fuck's going on at this point, because it flashes to like she's playing a video game.
Yeah, she's playing that. The Nintendo
Arcanoid.
So I got this
breakout.
As, her life flashed before her eyes, and it was like 4 or 5 pages of her just playing a video game.
And it was
my life.
And it was set. It was set.
A different direction.
Vertical.
Yeah, vertically.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because like you would see like the screen, the TV screen, because that's how kids had to play video games back in the day in the living room. And it's like round one. And it's like round like 382. And like you see like someone sitting on the couch and she's totally oblivious to them. Like you see her being called for dinner. She goes to sleep, then she wakes up and gets on her video game.
Yeah.
And I saw that as like a life flashing before her eyes. Because what happens is one of the girls.
Ackroyd. That's the name of that game. Yeah. Sorry.
But one of the girls ends up like slicing the thing that's holding her, and she gets free, and she's like, oh my god, like I wasted all my life, like I wasted so much time, why did I keep playing the video game? She's like, I could still hear the music. And so I got it, like she just saw like that was her life and she literally was just wasting it.
Oh well, she should stay alive a lot longer, and then she could see esports and then realize that she can make a lot of money playing video games. Screw you,
or
parents.
A Twitch account.
Oh yeah, totally. She would totally be a Twitch star. Anyway, the teenagers end up shooting it, killing the device. They rescue Tiffany. She's okay. Obviously, Erin's still bleeding.
And she's like on death's door.
Right, pretty much. So they lead them out of the sewers and into the woods where that weird Apollo shuttle device is. And they promise to, like, they're going to, like...
The Cronenberg shuttle.
Right, exactly. And help her. So they load her into it. They get into it.
But the other 3 girls... are like, what the fuck are they doing? Are they just leaving us here? Like, they're freaking out. And it's...
well, because when they shut the door, it disappears.
Right.
And at first, they think that's like a first aid center.
Right.
So one of the people translated that particular panel, and the translation says, you guys, please don't worry. We're going to be right back. Just please wait here, which goes into... They leave. They leave the woods, but they don't know what those kids are, the 3 teenagers from the future are saying.
Yeah. So at this point, because like you have the elder people or whatever in white saying like, these boys are going to hurt you. And then you have these teenagers saying like those old people are going to hurt you. So then I thought, at this scene, I was like, the people in white are the good people. These guys are bad guys. And they're still like they're kidnapped this girl.
Right. Totally. And so they jump to some unknown space. You're not sure what's going on.
It's like a Amazon warehouse.
It looked like, because there's an Apple device that looks like this weird, ominous, like Alexa kind of thing that's human-sized and has the Apple logo. And it looks like, they're scavenging. And I think they actually call themselves scavengers. And I don't know why, but they can speak perfect English at this point.
They have a collar on with like 3 white. They have like a what do they call those things where it's just a turtleneck with the top of a shirt? A dickie? Is that a dickie?
Yeah, that's a dickie.
Yeah, it's like a translating dickie.
Oh, okay. Translating dick. Good. And it's revealed that they've gotten some, I think, a future Apple device, eye insects. And they're basically these little like roach things that they've put on her belly.
It's insects, but I-N, yeah.
Right.
S-E-C-S.
Are you mansplaining to me, man?
I am mansplaining. I'm nerd-splaining.
He's nerd, yeah. Like,
Nerd-splaining.
Yeah.
Right. So it looks like it's fixing her somehow.
She looks down and is freaked out because
Yeah.
there's like, it looks like cockroaches crawling all over her
Right.
stomach.
and they tell her not to touch them because
Right.
it's gonna, they're like electronic. I feel like, sorry, this is a side topic. I feel like after this recording, Johnny's gonna like go in the house and tell Sasha like, "Oh, I killed it tonight," and like do like the Saturday Night Live like strut, like, yeah.
I tell her that every night.
That's why she's sadly disappointed.
Yeah.
And
No. She's not.
So sorry, she's got the bugs on her, and you realize that they're helping her.
Right, totally.
They are totally helping her.
In the meanwhile, the other 3 girls, KJ, Tiffany, and Mack, are freaking out because they're like, where are their friends?
Hold on. I just had a realization. So after the nano
Did you also
bugs.
discover this from the website?
Nope. This is something that just popped into my head. So her scar is a 3-point. It's a 3-point star, just like their eyes, like the pupil of their eyes. So I'm wondering if
Does she have a scar? Do they have eyes?
you see it. You see a scar on her abdomen after they heal her, and I'm curious if something happened to their eyes and those nanobots. We'll see it in future volumes where they fix their eyes or something like that.
Oh, that's a good point. Wow, I never caught that, man.
I didn't until this moment when you guys were busting my fucking onions.
So another one of these white knights comes and tries to talk to the 3 girls. It's a lady white knight, and they pull the gun on her and basically tell her to drop the weapon. She ends up dropping the weapon. Mack gets it. Turns out the gun never had bullets, and Mack accidentally presses a button and basically knocks the white knight over. And they basically take off, and I think they decide to head back to the house they originally saw the device in, hoping that they would meet up with Erin and company over there. The White Knight, whatever her name is, I don't know if she even has a name.
White Knights running
80s
through
reference.
my mind.
Yeah, so Miss Cocaine, apparently.
Something like a phenomenon.
Missy Cocaine calls grandfather and says, "What do we do? We should punish him." He's like, "No, let me handle it." Like Francis.
Is this when you
spoiled.
see the people?
Right.
So this is where. So he's walking down a hallway, and you see all of the people, and they're kind of like in these glass containers. It kind of reminded me of like V. If you guys ever watched V in the 80s, which
I love V.
Yeah. So then I realized, okay, this is my thought process. So those people did not go to heaven. It's not the rapture, right? Something else is going on. They're purposely trying to capture all the people for a reason, and obviously not do good things to them.
Like a true nerd, he's collecting, I think.
Oh, yeah. All in original packaging.
Yes.
But yeah, so maybe those teenagers we saw, and maybe we even actually see them in that scene from the football field. Maybe they weren't actually vaporized. So it seems
They
like
were
this.
taken, yeah.
Exactly. And the girls actually go back to the house where they first discovered the device, and it's back. So Erin pops out. She seems fine. Everything seems okay. And the grandfather is actually outside the house and, yells in, "Look, I don't know what those scavengers have told you. They're not the good guys. We're the good guys." It's a classic movie.
Well, and the girls figure out, too, like, this isn't the one in the woods. This was the one that we originally found. Holy shit, she's been here the entire time.
Oh, I totally missed that.
Yeah.
Way to crank up the geek, man.
That's what I do as a 42-year-old virgin. That's what I do.
So they're debating about what to do. There's this, obviously this weird old dude out there with the knight saying like, you're with the bad guys, we're the good guys. And all of a sudden the engine sound of the device goes off, and then another flash of light, and the girls have suddenly basically disappeared.
They're like back the night that all this shit happened.
Right, they're
back on their regular street.
What appears to be the regular street. There's a street.
Oh, sorry. Can I see the book?
Yeah.
No, thanks.
They're in a regular street. KJ is not with them though.
Yeah.
So
well, did you already see like the teenagers got killed?
they didn't get killed. We talked about that earlier.
No,
Oh, the teenagers. Did they get killed?
Yeah, the teenagers that helped her.
The
so
mummy
teenagers
ninja,
the
mummy
ninjas,
Jedi.
They died. Like
Oh,
they
they
died
did?
before this even happened. Yeah, like they.
I missed that part.
Yeah, so they even said like so right here.
Yeah, they're like
it's-
morphing through each other.
Yeah.
Because the one guy's like talking to his friend, and his fingers come out of his buddy's head.
Oh no way! I missed that.
It's
part.
like they're unstuck in reality, like they're dissolving almost.
Yeah, and they don't want to go outside, but they know that ship's about to explode. So, and they don't want to go outside because that white guy's there, and I think they figured out he's not.
A good guy.
Yeah, I just realized his shirt says Apple Records. Sorry, that's what his shirt says.
Which is the Beatles. Yeah.
Okay. So please continue. Yeah, about where they're in the street.
So they pop up in the street. KJ's missing. They don't know where she is. They're confused.
No, Erin's missing.
No, KJ is.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought Erin was
it's
missing.
KJ.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
KJ?
Yeah, and then they get confronted by an older teenager, or maybe not even teenager, or young
Well,
adult.
car pulls up.
Right, and it turns
They're
out,
trying to figure out what the fuck happened. Where is she?
and cliffhanger, it's Erin, but she's older,
Yeah.
and that's where the book ends.
Yep.
Well, that was an anti-dramatic reading. Let me read you what she says, because that was...
Sorry.
So she stops the car and she says, "Excuse me, my name is Erin Ting. I deliver newspapers, and my friends and I need help, please." And then the woman says, "Is this a joke?" She goes, "My name is Erin Ting," and she's got like a cropped haircut. She has the iPhone with the
I didn't pick up on that.
yeah, with the earbuds in it. She's got the skinny jeans on. And like during this time when the ship exploded, they go by a scene that says like 1990, but you don't know what. So yeah, and then it leaves.
Oh, so it's clearly at least in the 2000s. If she's got
Yeah.
an iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
And skinny jeans.
Right.
So the good thing is like I was like, I don't know what happens, but obviously she survives.
Right.
Like
Sucks for the rest of them. So what did you guys think?
I'll go first because a woman
Hey, Francis,
should,
why don't you go first?
yeah, I'll go first because a man should always have the last word.
Thank you. Before you talk, can you get Johnny and I some coffee, please?
Yeah.
I don't need coffee. I need
Or
a
some
beer.
sandwiches? Or
Oh,
something?
because you're old and you got the old stomach.
I just don't drink coffee. It freaks. My brain gets so scattered on that shit.
Okay. So I'm gonna go back to like my first before I even read this book. For some reason, because you kind of told me about it and it sounded interesting, and I saw it in another comic book shop, I thought it was the paper girls were going to solve like a murder mystery. I thought like, so when this first started happening, I thought they were going to find the body, right? And then they were
Stand
gonna,
by me kind of
yeah,
thing.
and they were going to blame Mack because the cops. But this was not that at all. And I read this. This is like one of the few books where I like read all the way through. Like maybe it took me like 45 minutes, maybe an hour, and I was just like enraptured. Is that the right word? Like the whole time. Like I was like, oh wow. Like, and I really did. At first I was like, okay, whatever. Like I really hated the dream. I was like, oh God, like, okay. Like the sci-fi stuff. But I really, really liked it. And I thought it was, the artwork was amazing. And I'm not one always for the artwork. Like it's always a kind of a throwaway for me. The coloring was great. Even the cover with the gradient of like the yellow to the hot pink and just the girls in blue. And these girls are, they're very badass, depicted
Right.
and like very much powerful. And yeah, I didn't know what was going on, but I wanted to know more. And I think too, like you said, you already hit on this, but it was just a fun read. No one's getting raped or murdered. Well, some people are being locked up, but it's
Right.
like it's never going to happen in real life. Like, so I just thought it was like really fun, and I was mad. I was like, damn it! And I was like, this isn't the complete book. I was like, where's the complete book?
Yeah, I did the same thing too. I didn't, even though it says Paper Girls Volume 1, I was like, it's gonna come to a conclusion when it does. I was like, fuck, that's
Right.
right. It's not. It's
Yeah.
Volume 1.
Yeah, it's actually still ongoing. They released a deluxe version of Book 1, which combines 1 through 10 instead of just 1 through 5.
I'm going to have to buy that one.
And I forgot how many volumes they're up to, but
I think it's up to 8.
yeah, and they've
No,
got like,
if it's 1 through 10, if it's ready for buy, then it has to be more than 8 volumes.
No, I think they're up to 8 though.
What do you mean?
I think they're published 1, and now they're.
we
on
don't need
8.
to do math.
2, 3, 4, 5,
Anyways,
6, 7,
there
8.
are
But if there's 1 through 10 already, Never mind.
I think they're up to like 20 to 24 issues.
Oh, I got what
Yeah.
you're saying. Okay,
Yeah.
you're
Right.
saying 8 volumes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
sorry.
volume 8 might be
I'm thinking
published
issues.
actually this fall. But
Okay.
yeah, go ahead, Francis.
Oh, that's all. Wait, there's 8 volumes?
Soon to be.
Oh my god, I have to read this whole
That's
thing.
with these ongoing series. They usually tap out around 12, 13, 10,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Damn.
Yeah.
How many was Why the Last Man?
It's 11 or 12, I believe.
And that one was violent. So I wasn't sure if there was going to be any violence in this one. But thankfully, the violence is pretty tame for like an
It's
80s
sci-fi violence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How about you, Johnny? What did you think?
I liked it a lot. I really enjoyed the art. I am not one who typically likes when they use a computer illustration program to illustrate the comic books, but this one I really enjoyed. I was like, oh, okay, I like it. I like what they did. It's kind of like a rough, sketchy
Right.
look to everything.
Because the girls are rough and sketchy.
Oh.
Dropping knowledge.
Oh, science.
And that didn't even sound
Dropping
geeky.
that science.
You made it sound classy and smart.
Because that's how I roll.
But I really enjoyed it. The story, it took me a little longer to get into it than for you, Dennis. The dream sequence, I don't know. I can take or leave a dream sequence, but the art in it, I really enjoyed a lot, and I definitely want to read future volumes of the book.
Yeah, I really liked it. I enjoyed the dream sequences, even the one that I skipped talking about, which involved Ronald Reagan.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's 2.
Art, everything, story. I think it was pretty solid. It was really refreshing to read something that didn't involve something super traumatic.
Yeah,
Girls.
I mean,
who,
getting shot in the stomach is pretty traumatic, but
the girl characters were, had actual agency. They were strong. They weren't, weak or whiny. Everything was solid. I also appreciated the level of nostalgia. Like there was like they were dropping things like reference to the Mask movie, where the kid's disfigured, or the realistic walkie-talkies. I don't know. Have you guys read Ready Player One? They're going to release a movie soon. I know a lot of people love it. I kind of got tired of it because that one was too
way too over the top.
Well, every reference they went into great detail explaining what that was.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm going to mention Joust, and here's what the Wikipedia page basically says of Joust. I'm going to mention, D&D, and I'm going to go into all this stuff about D&D. This one just kind of name dropped some stuff, but I didn't feel like it was too heavy-handed. It was just the right amount of nostalgia. I was afraid it was gonna be too like, hey, remember the 80s?
Yeah.
Kind of thing, and it wasn't. And and it could be because of the medium. They can't go into a book description of exactly what Mask was or anything like that. But no, I felt it was a good balance of nostalgia, and the storytelling seemed pretty strong.
The only thing one of the girls was missing was the way my sister and many of her friends used to do their hair. Back then was the bangs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
the
right.
half up
What
top.
Aquanet, I used to call it the cresting wave.
She
She
kinda
has
has
it
that,
on
the Erin.
But their comb, there's like a comb down in the front.
Right.
That's
But
how I did. I
my-
would do the half and half.
Oh no, my sister's the full quarter part of her forehead, the hair that touches there, would be hairsprayed Aquanet, of course, with that like pink, like that pinkish purple with
Right.
the white the white lines that would divide them into diamonds, and the hair would go straight up and then curl at the end. And none of them had a Raiders jacket, the starter jacket with the giant Raiders diamond.
They're girls.
Yeah.
They're not
No,
gonna
there
wear
was
that.
many girls in my
It's true.
8th grade class that had.
But they're in Ohio, not
That's not
California.
88.
I was in 8th grade in '88.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was 13. I'm the same age as these kids.
As was I.
You
Yeah.
still are, yes.
Yes, I'm
Still 13.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the end of the show. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. So we all. I think this is the first episode in a while where the consensus is we liked everything about the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like the art, like the story. There's no mental health issues, no
Right.
deep. It's just some badass girls fighting some weird time traveler sci-fi.
Right. And once again, the mystery box handled really well. What's going on with the older
The
crowd.
Cronenberg.
Yeah, exactly. The young people versus the old people. It's just enough of the mystery to get me interested without frustrating
Yeah.
me and I'm totally carrying, unlike Luther Strode, which was terrible.
The poor guy. He's gonna kill himself, and we're gonna be the fucking fault on his letter, his suicide letter. It was like, I am doing this specifically because of those assholes from Graphic Novel Explorers Club.
I think like every episode we air, we'll just hashtag him because we talk about him every single episode.
We also rip into Michael Bendis and Jinx.
No, you do.
Not as nearly as bad as we do the poor Strode guy. Yeah. Well, Francis Preziosi, where can people follow you?
Well, the IRS can find me.
there was a long discussion before we started recording this. Some IRS troubles
because it's tax time, folks. Oh well, right. They're during the recording. Who knows? You can find me on Insta at Words in Waffles.
The podcast, Insta, and Twitter is...
What's this Insta shit?
But you don't have to say Instagram.
Yeah.
It's just Insta.
Come on, you old man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I like to say the names as titles.
At GN Explorers Club. And Johnny, where can people find you?
Wherever. I don't care at this point. No, Serious Talk Twits for my other podcast, which is in its final season. And
Not if I can time travel.
And then
show you your magazine article from Sacktown Magazine.
And then and my Instagram is Ewok_Johnny. Senior_Ewok. That's it. Senior.
Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah, if you still are.
Yeah, thanks for listening to the show. We really appreciate it. And we'll be back next week.
Bye. If you want to plan ahead for next week's episode, we're going to read X-Men Grand Design by Ed Piskor. Welcome to the Graphic Novel Explorers Club. I'm your host, Dennis Supachana, joined as always by the lovely
Johnny Flores.
And the extremely fugly
Francis.
Be a professional.
My friend is going wedding dress shopping next week.
Oh.
How is that exciting for her?
Well,
I can't hear myself too much, Johnny.
Is she actually engaged?
Yeah. Just go. It's a thing we do after our beauty parties.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go waste a lot of people's times and look at dresses.